Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Feeling Lighter podcast. I'm Coach Tyler. This is Dr. Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm ready to rip through this episode and talk about the subject we're going to talk about today because, you know, we shape one of the most important things is the number on the scale to us. And that scale is a scale of how much you love yourself.
I love that.
Not the scale you step on. Psych, if you thought we were going that direction. But here, that's what we're going to talk about today, is that the fitness industry uses the scale, right, as our metric. And most people have had that experience before where we step on the scale, we look down, it displays a number, and then we hate ourselves.
Yep.
And then we treat ourselves differently because of that. We think about ourselves differently because of that. We punish ourselves mentally because of that. And we're here to tell you that is not the measures you should be looking at.
Not at
so
all.
today, we want to give you lots of ideas, inspiration, probably tell some stories too, about how to get out of the mindset that the number on the scale is what makes you matter. And what are some of the other ways we can start tracking progress that are meaningful and helpful and healthy? Does that sound good?
That sounds great. That's good talk, yeah.
Okay. Where are we going to go with this?
First of all, I couldn't even pretend to play along with that joke.
I know. I started with the joke. I didn't tell her I was going to make that joke. I was like, one of the most important things is the scale.
Bust out laughing. I'm like, yeah, right. I think these people have been here long enough to know. Hopefully.
Somebody's on episode 1.
That's true. Somebody is on episode 1. Well, they're going to learn today. I think it's a great conversation. I think it has to keep happening, unfortunately, because while we've made a lot of strides in like the anti-diet, weight neutral, body acceptance, body neutrality world, like it's still not mainstream.
It's in like the millions, the low millions, not the tens or hundreds or billions.
No, like we are still kind of a whisper in the loud shouting match that's going on in the health and fitness, wellness, and even the medical industry.
Yeah.
People still attach a lot of value and a lot of information, a lot of decisions are still made based on the size of your body. So it can be really hard to see that that's not actually valuable because there are so many entities in our world that put value on it. And I don't think they're still doing this in school. I know my kids definitely have the fitness test, but I remember when I was coming up in the 80s and 90s, it was the skin fold fat test.
Oh, they were doing the calipers.
Yes. They were squeezing the sides of your arms and the sides of your belly and giving you numbers and basically telling you like, yeah, you're unhealthy. And I remember being so shocked as an elementary schooler who was super active and normal. Literally. Like super active and, playing and riding bikes and having fun and eating the foods that were prepared for me. That, to understand like, oh, yeah, you should probably be smaller. It was very confusing to get that information, but I believed it is truth. And so I think we start to hear those stories from our very, very young youth, maybe in utero for some of us, that smaller bodies, lower weights equals health. And that's how you sort of determine the level of your health. So, we have to keep having this conversation. And it's annoying, but necessary. I'm here for it. So.
Well, let's start at the beginning of this conversation for the people who are still maybe not as aware of this as they should be. And that beginning is this. If you're not aware of what we do at We Shape, and even if you are, it's a good reminder. The fitness industry, sometimes when I think about it, right, I was actually looking at this video the other day, and I saw some video shots of bodybuilders in like the 1930s.
Oh. And
I had this moment where I remembered one of my favorite things to do in the past was read up on these old-time bodybuilders, these old-time what they called physical culturists. So these were people who prided themselves in strength and flexibility, teaching people how to be healthy, taking care of their bodies. Even people like Jack LaLanne would fit into this mold, right? And this is what fitness started as. It wasn't how skinny can I be, how lean can I be, or how much muscle can I have. It was, what can I do with my body? How healthy can I be? How much can I take care of myself and value my health, right? And then at some point, when anabolic steroids were introduced into the mainstream, people started competing in a different way.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the women needed to be skinnier and leaner, and the men needed to be skinnier and more muscular, right? And this led us down a really bad path. And that was starting in the 1950s and all the way through into the 1970s when the Nautilus brand became really, really famous. Anybody remember, 24-hour fitness used to be 24-hour Nautilus, okay? 24-hour Nautilus was popularized by a guy named Arthur Jones, who owned the Nautilus Company. And the Nautilus Company made all these machines to help you gain muscle using a principle called high-intensity training, HIIT training, right? And Arthur Jones popularized that, and it just said, hey, if you just go through this circuit of these machines and go to absolute failure on these machines, because they'll keep you safe to absolute failure, then you'll gain muscle, and then if you need to burn fat, go do a bunch of cardio and starve yourself, right? So those two things were happening at the same time. The muscle-building approach was Nautilus, and then on the cardiovascular approach, it was like aerobics that was getting really popular, right? And this was pulling away from that era that was about health. It was about longevity. It was about taking care of yourself. It was about being able to move your body freely. And then it became about aesthetics, aesthetics, aesthetics. And everyone shifted their focus away from health, longevity, taking care of yourself, to how you look.
How you look.
How you look.
How you look,
and
how much you weigh.
That has been a huge problem on the psyche of people in our society ever since then. If you're a woman, you've been convinced that how thin you are is your worth. The number on the scale needs to be smaller. That's your worth. And if you're a man, how much muscle you have, that's what your worth is. And if you don't look a certain way, you shouldn't feel valued. And we're here to tell you today that this is wrong. This is not only wrong, it's not even humane to look at it like that. But if you follow that story I just shared, what you'll notice is something big. These were people in the past showing up to take care of their bodies and teach other people to do the same, provide inspiration for people to show up and take care of themselves. And then products got introduced to the mix. Marketing got introduced to the mix. Capitalism got introduced to the
chat.
And don't get me wrong, here's the thing. I am actually for capitalism. I think that if we can do conscious capitalism at its finest, the world will change. I do believe that individuals have the greatest power to change things if they can truly access the greatest parts of themselves. Most people aren't doing that in capitalism, right? Most people are looking at how much money can we make and how much of a margin can we create off of this, right? So that's a long-winded way for me to basically say the fitness industry had good intentions. And as it started selling more and more products and gym memberships and everything like that, it shifted away from, you should take care of yourself. You should eat foods that your body loves. You should move in ways that your body feels good, to, hey, you should starve yourself. You should do this diet. You should take this supplement. You should join this gym. You should do this machine, this cardio equipment, whatever, in order to look a certain way. And I don't know about you, but I've seen it do more damage, especially on women, than anything else in the last, few hundred years. It's really sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. And I think what shifted.
By the way, I just want to pause real quick. I don't give myself a pat on the shoulder. I did not plan any of that. That just flowed out of me. I forgot about all those stories. Like, damn, Arthur Jones.
It was a lot of history in there.
I was like, I remember this. I remember that. Where'd that come from?
All right. Thank you for your education.
Somebody fact check me, though. I'm sure some of that was a little off. But you might find some good stories there.
We'll get some notes later to double check.
Arthur Jones was rich, by the way. That's one thing I know for sure.
Well.
Yeah. Because of all those gym equipment.
Nautilus is, that's still a name that's very familiar, so I get it.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Continue.
I think that a part of the conversation is the shift away from wanting, good health, long life, to, like you said, wanting an aesthetic. And in order to create that shift, I think came about because of the induction of like fear and shame. I think somewhere, some marketer, some brilliant person in some ways, determined that people will be more motivated by negative reinforcement or negative motivation, by convincing someone that something's wrong with them will make them spend way more money to fix it than like trying to convince someone just like, let's just enhance and continue to build it. People, I guess, are not always as moved by that. So somebody figured that out, and it's worked against us for far too long. So I think that this episode is important because even though if you've been here for a while, you know that this is what we do, there's so many benefits to movement and taking good care of yourself beyond the scale, it still is an underlying thing for people. And I am a bit of an extremist with this. And I don't know, not everyone agrees with me, and I believe in autonomy. If you think you need to lose weight or you want to change your body, that is your choice, and you should go forth in whatever way you see fit. I personally do not believe that intentional weight loss is a healthy thing to seek for anybody. With the caveat of we still live in a world that denies people medical care based on the size of their body. And I've actually helped and supported clients in losing weight when they needed to get a surgical procedure, which sucks, in my opinion. But it's one of those things like you need this thing to like better your life, save your life in some cases. So we got to do the ugly thing that's not actually very healthy for us. But aside from that, I don't believe that the pursuit of intentional weight loss is innately healthy or necessary for anybody.
Yeah.
So
I think that there's this misnomer maybe when somebody hears that, maybe what they think to themselves is like, I shouldn't try to lose weight. Right. And what I think you're saying is, yeah, you shouldn't try to lose weight. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take care of yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that, we just talked about this misnomer that your worth does not lie in the number on the scale. Mm-hmm. And if you can hear that and you can rationalize that, you say, okay, yeah, I believe that. Our worth doesn't lie in what the number is on the scale. I mean, if you look at someone and they're in a bigger body and you think to yourself, you're worth less than me because I'm skinnier than you. Nobody's going to think that, right?
Not typically.
Maybe there's like a subconscious thing that you were told that might say that. But if you really drop into your heart, like nobody's going to really believe that to be true. Mm-hmm. But there's another factor here that's working against us, which is, well, skinny people are healthier. Mm-hmm. Skinny people are more fit. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I think that's something that we should talk about too, because that's not the truth.
Not at all.
Your capacity to move doesn't have as much to do with your body shape as you might think. Mm-hmm. I've seen skinny people who can't do crap with their bodies. Mm-hmm. They can't do anything. They're tight, they're weak, they can barely move, they're not coordinated. I've seen people in bigger bodies doing things that make me go, holy crap, I cannot believe that person can do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't have anything to do with the size of your body. It has to do with how much you're showing up to take care of yourself and how much you value the performance of your body, right? And actually show up for that.
Yeah, I think that is really important to mention. It's called weight bias, and it's called weight stigma. We look at people and we make assumptions on their abilities, and we make assumptions about the state of their health based on what their bodies look like, based on the messaging we've heard. And here's the thing. None of us made this up in our minds. This was delivered to us as children. Yeah. It goes back to like the Disney movies or Disney movies you watch growing up. Those animated films you watch growing up that showed you people who were villains and people who were, the antagonists in the movie or in the show. They were bigger people. They were less physically attractive people, mainstream wise. And you started to associate fatness, largeness, attractiveness with bad, poor morals. Like that's really where it starts. It starts in childhood, where we start to see this assignment of morality to body size and to physical looks. And we internalize that and we don't even know what's happening. We're just watching cartoons. We're kids, So there's something to be said there about the conditioning that we receive in the world. And then once we are older and we're trying to figure things out for ourselves, we don't even know why we have the belief that we have. So we have to start seeing the contrary to it for us to sort of interrupt that negative loop in our brains that believe thinness equals this, fatness equals this, and getting smaller equals getting healthier. And so when you start to undo that, it's hard at first. And every time I have this conversation or post about this, somebody is like, but no, wait. Are you saying I can be 500 pounds and healthy? And my response is always no, because I don't know you. I don't know if you're healthy now. I do know that as a healthcare professional, one of the signs of potentially losing health is losing weight, like especially for no reason. That's unexplained weight loss automatically. It's like red flag. What's wrong?
Yeah, something's wrong with your organs.
Let's ask, because our bodies like to maintain homeostasis. That's what people don't get. So when we do major shifts in our lifestyles and our eating, our movement, and we drastically lose or drastically gain or whatever, changing our bodies, that upsets some systems in our bodies. Our bodies like to kind of And when we change, it's supposed to be like kind of gradual and slow over time. So anything that's drastic is usually the antithesis to health, for us. But essentially, I can't say if someone who's 500 pounds is healthy or not. I also don't believe that health is black and white. It exists on a spectrum. Maybe you're more healthy at this point in your life and less healthy at another point in your life. But it's not a yes or no, right or wrong question, All I know is that when you prioritize your own care, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, environmentally, occupationally, all the little dimensions of wellness we forget about, that you can be healthy, and whatever your body looks like as a result of that has to be healthy. That's what I know. Now, it may not be 500 pounds for you, but it also may not be 115 pounds for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be different because our genetics are different, our environments are different, the things we engage in and do every day are different, but there's no definite stamp of health, lack of health based on the weight or size of your body, period.
And I think when you're saying this, something that's coming up for me is like, if we see someone and we judge their circumstance, that's always coming from a place inside of ourselves that we can't accept.
Yep.
And if we're like, I can't accept someone as doing what they need for their life, maybe being healthy, maybe not, whatever it may be, because I was told that was not healthy, then all of a sudden that's going to put a bias on my shoulders. It's going to put self-imposed pressure on my shoulders to be able to show up and do the thing that I think I'm supposed to do that society taught me, which is be skinny, work out excessively, diet excessively, all these different things that we know aren't going to contribute to a better quality of life.
No,
right?
It never will.
It never will. And I just want to go back to the Disney thing real quick, the Risney thing.
Risney.
That you said. Because, this is how bad it got for me. I had a memory of a story, right? So, I was brainwashed a little bit opposite. I was like, the bigger, the better. I was in that like 90s bodybuilding era where these dudes were just behemoths.
But by bigger, muscular,
muscle bigger, yeah.
Not fat, let's be clear.
And so I'll never forget Gaston from The Beauty and the Beast. Man, that guy was big. And he was, look at Gaston, right? And in his song, he sings, when I was a lad, I ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help me get large.
Wow.
Dr. Lisa, I took that nutritional advice from Gaston.
No, you
and I
didn't.
started increasing my egg intake until I got to 12 eggs every day for breakfast. And I was stuffing them down my face because I wanted to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, what an idiot. I took nutrition advice from Gaston.
Oh my God.
That's a true story.
Oh.
That's a true story, by the way.
I'm so glad you felt safe enough to share that.
I'm an open book girl.
Love it.
Anyways, I just think it really highlights, too, that when we look at people, that's a ridiculous example, by the way, but you might look at an influencer.
Absolutely.
Who's telling you this is the way to live. And that way to live might make you miserable, might make you less healthy, might ruin your relationships with others and yourself. And the whole entire time, it might be fueled through self-hatred. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're listening to other influencers and saying, I'm going to do exactly what they do without checking in with your body first and saying, what feels good for me? What do I need to do to show up for me in ways that feel good? You are not going to ever be happy. Even if you have all this stuff that an influencer wants. I think that's the other misnomer that we're like really highlighting here is that ultimately what I want is more people to live authentic lives and to be comfortable with who they are, accept who they are, love who they are, so that we can offer that to others, right? Yeah. We can't accept others if we can't accept ourselves.
1,000%.
We are in a society that is constantly telling us not to accept ourselves. And it's a poison, and I freaking hate it.
I hate it as well. Yeah. You know my least favorite thing to see on social media from anybody?
Gaston's nutrition advice?
No. Never seen that. Please don't try that at home, people.
Please don't.
I hate when anybody, especially influencers, especially people that just happen to have certain types of bodies, I hate, this is what I eat in a day. I did like a spoof of it before on my page to be silly, but I hate it because I think it creates this false narrative that if you eat how I eat, you will look how I look. You will have the gains.
Yeah.
It's so far from the truth. So it's like, Save that shit. Nobody cares. Eat what you eat.
Check this out. Let me highlight this really importantly, okay? Because I think when we go to the opposite, it becomes obvious. But when we stay in there, it doesn't become obvious. So I had a friend growing up, right? He just had genetics that everybody wishes for, okay? Just a super athlete. Didn't have to train. Had six-pack abs since he was 6 years old. And you know what? This guy ate whatever he wanted. Burritos and, Chinese food and like everything, and tons of it, right? And he just stayed lean 24/7. Still is to this day. Still is to this day. Never had to think about nutrition once in his life. Now imagine if that guy was your influencer and you were watching him eat burritos and Chinese food and sugar stuff and everything like that, drinking alcohol and whatever. And you're like, I'm going to get that body by doing what he did, right? It's so obvious.
Stupid.
It's so obvious when you look at it from that perspective.
It is, yeah.
But then someone else who has equal genetics chooses a different path. Don't get me wrong. I think you should eat things that agree with your body, that make you feel good, etc. But they think the reason why they're like that is because of their choices.
Yeah.
Their choices are a small part of that situation. Some people are born just able to digest and process and just crazy metabolisms and muscle mass and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like so wrong for us to beat ourselves up in comparison of others, right?
That's where we talk about that all the time. Comparison is the thief of all good things, like of your progress, of your peace, of your contentment, because you're worried about what other people are doing. If we spent half of that energy that we spend on other people, on ourselves, on getting to know ourselves, on getting embodied, on learning what feels good for us and what doesn't, we would be all like a lot healthier and a lot happier. And along those lines, I want us to talk about.
Let's talk about some positive stuff.
Yeah, some positives of the real. So if we're gonna,
this episode, we're gonna get clipped, and they're gonna rip us apart on this one. By the way,
I don't care.
Clip away.
Clip
away. We're talking from the heart.
Finally, throw away the scale. Which that's just my personal opinion. Do what you want. I'd say get rid of scales. I don't think that they help us at all. But if we throw away
every
the
once
scale,
in a while, my wife asks me how big our dog is.
Oh, that's important.
I go, you threw all the scales away.
There's not another scale in the house.
It's big.
You'll just have to keep guessing. But if we throw the scales out and stop relying on them for our health data, what do we have to focus on now? Where can we see progress? I think it is cool to be able to track progress. And I know this is not the same for everyone. Some people just need to participate in fitness and movement without any care in the world of how fast they were, what they did last time they tried this move. So for some people, I just need to be present in the moment and do it and show up for myself. And I support that. But some people do like to track progress and see how things are improving and what's different than maybe 6 weeks ago before they started a thing. So what are some of your favorite ways to track how much better you're doing or how much healthier you feel
I'm
overall?
so glad you asked this question, and it's really interesting. This is something I've been working on at WeShape since February. I've been asking this question because in WeShape, one of the things that we chose not to do was not to gamify the product in a way that felt outside of integrity. What I mean by that is if you download any fitness app out there, they're gonna be like, get your streaks. And it's like, do it every day and keep your streak or we're gonna punish you, And I don't want that to be someone's experience. I also don't want their experience to feel like they have anxiety that I'm not gonna show up today. I have anxiety, so I gotta do the thing, even though maybe my body doesn't feel up for it. Again, This is about connecting with self, not having other people tell you what you should be doing. And so in thinking about that a lot, probably the most important thing I think about, and this is, again, I'll tell you how I'm going to put this into the app here in a second, but I think it's like, how often are we showing up to take care of ourselves? Or at bare minimum, creating the space to ask the question, what do I need today?
Yeah,
because if I show up every day and I say, what do I need today? And I carve out maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes each day. And one day I'm like, it's a nap, right? I carved this time out for self-care. Does that mean I have to go grind away on a workout? No, that means I could sit and meditate. I could take a nap. I could do a sound bath meditation. I could stretch. I could go for a walk. I could call a friend. I could listen to a podcast that helps me grow.
I could lie in bed and watch TV.
I could lie in bed and watch TV, right? I mean, it's like really like showing up to care for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really just creating space for yourself. So maybe if I were to reword all that, it's like, are you creating space for whatever you need that's self-care? Are you creating space for whatever you need that's self-care? And if we could track that alone, are you creating space for yourself? That is going to improve so many lives. Yeah. And as you can see, I'm not telling you what it is.
No,
I'm telling you, are you showing up for it?
Yeah.
Right? That to me is really important. Yeah. And I think that the more we can create space for that, the happier you'll be. Period.
I agree.
And healthier too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, for me, it's a lot of things, but I think, your synopsis makes a lot of sense because it's really just about being comfortable with whatever that response is and trusting yourself.
Right. That's the thing is if you're tired and you're like, I should be working out. And then you're like, but I'm exhausted. Yeah. And then you go do the workout anyways. Maybe it was the right decision for you that day. Maybe you feel good. And maybe it's all rooted in self-criticism, shame, and all these other things. But
maybe tomorrow the right decision is to not do it. So the cool thing about this, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It only becomes leaning toward wrong when you're treating yourself poorly as a result of it.
It's all right.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's all
crazy?
right. It's all right.
Yeah.
But when you're treating yourself poorly or you're beating yourself up or you're experiencing a lot of shame because you didn't or you should have that's the issue. So for me, it's, I look at my progress as in how much peace I'm experiencing, like how much calm I experience. Like I know that I am not typically taking good care of myself when I'm constantly in a state of panic and rushing. So I know I've had a lot of peaceful moments. I've been able to sit. Like yesterday I sat on the deck and I was just, sitting in the sunlight and taking deep breaths and watching the birds. The day before that I slept in an hour later, So things of that nature, that's kind of how I measure my progress. But I really do look at my sleep. And again, sometimes I don't get great sleep because sometimes I make the choice I want to stay up and enjoy my alone time and watch a show, And it's like I don't beat myself up because I didn't get as much sleep. I just try to schedule a nap today. So it's like constant rebalancing and creating that harmony in all of the different ways in which your life pulls you. Like I'm a mom of 3. I run a business. I have a lot going on. So even when I have a plan, like today I'm getting up, I'm going to do this workout, I'm going to do that. It changes, And for me, I love this flexibility. I'll get up and I'll get the kids to school. And on the days I work from home, I'll be headed back home. And I'll typically already have on some workout clothes. And I'll come in the house and I'll be like, on the drive back, I'll be like, oh, I think I want to go for a walk. I'm not going to do my little workout in the house. I just want to be outside. And then I do it. And I feel so good when I do it. And I don't feel like there was pressure around it or that to me is progress. Because for me, fitness and movement was always about punishing myself, burning a certain amount of calories, showing up in a very specific way. It had to look very one way. I had to sweat a certain amount. I had to feel very, very sick and nauseous at the end. It was very much about how far can I push my body to feel proud of what I've done. And now I just get to kind of relax and be in the fun and the joy of it all. So yeah, I look at things like that. How much peace am I experiencing? How is my sleep? How is my energy? How is my mood? When I'm taking good care of myself, I'm typically more pleasant.
That's it. Yeah.
So
when you feel
those
like
are
you're
the
showing,
things.
how often do I feel like I'm showing up for myself?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's big. Speaking of, for the people who maybe don't know what you need, I just want to shamelessly plug what we do at WeShape here, because one big change that we made this year was instead of offering people, the chance to just do a routine, we upgraded all the logic behind the workouts, I guess you could say. And one thing that I think members love more than anything else is this daily check-in. Yep. Right? And what happens is here, you go into coach and you say, start moving with coach, and it goes, how'd you sleep last night? And then it goes, how does your body feel right now? And then how much time do you have? And if you slept horrible and you feel horrible, and even if you have extra time, or even if you have only 10 minutes, it's going to give you really gentle stuff, gentle stretches, some breathing, right? Some really simple things to help you feel good. So it's almost in a lot of ways cutting out the decision-making process for you and just saying, hey, just do some gentle stuff for your body, and this all personalized to you and whatever the things that you might be needing more of.
Meet you where you are.
Yeah, and if you got a good night's sleep and your body feels good, it's going to push you harder, drop you into a more intense movement routine, and it'll kind of help guide you through that process, right? Yeah. So, shameless plug. If you want to try that out, you can go to WeShape.com anytime. And then, I would love to paint a little vision for how we're going to integrate more of this into the product. So we did say self-care is really important. Probably sometime in Q1, we're going to have the full revamp that I've designed, but it's going to take a little while to build it all out. But 2 things that are really important to me are tracking self-care sessions instead of workouts and stretching routines, right? We were just talking about this, and not tracking them from a place of, can you do one every day, or what's the streak? It's like, hey, you tell me how much self-care you want to set as a goal. And you can adjust that goal in the week while you're still there.
Good.
And if the week rounds out on Sunday and you hit your goal of self-care sessions, you did it, right? So it's trying to reinforce the promises that we keep to ourselves around caring for ourselves. And then if we want to put a streaks, thing on there, it'll be streaks on how often you kept those promises to yourself, not how much we think you should be working out or taking care of yourself, how much you think you should be taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
On top of that, I think it's kind of fun to see the accumulation of all your efforts. So we cooked up this thing called self-care stars. So over time, you're going to get more and more stars the more and more time you spend doing self-care activities, right? And I think that's really cool just to see hey, we built it to go up to I think 11,000 hours or something like that. So it's the old saying, right? If you can do something for 10,000 hours, you're an expert. So if we can get somebody through those self-care stars, then we'll know you're an absolute self-care wizard.
Oh, I love that.
So that's two pieces. But then if you're a little more nerdy, I do want to touch on one thing. If you do want to track something that could be helpful to you, we are, and this is actually going to be released pretty soon. This is in mid-November, so probably in the next month or so. Instead of tracking how many movement sessions and how many stretching routines that you'd normally see on this We Move page we have inside the app, we actually took the time to develop these scores. Okay, so we have around 900 movements, and then we have questions from our quizzes that we ask people to gauge their range of motion, their strength, et cetera, on all these different ways. And so what we do is we give you a score within this architecture. An example would be, what's your flexibility score? Okay, if you're in the middle of all these different movements, then your flexibility score is probably a 50. And this doesn't mean you should compare yourself against someone else, but rather you can see whether you're gaining flexibility over time.
Right.
If it's a strength score, it's all the movements in the program that are related to strength and your relative value of where you're at in all of those movements collectively together. If it's the core, it's the same thing. So someone will be able to see their month-over-month progress in how much they're actually sophisticating their capabilities in those different movement pattern categories.
I love that.
I really like it because it'll give somebody a number that will go up over time if they're making progress, and will also tell them, hey, we get injured. And sometimes those numbers go down. And that's okay. What's important is that Richter scale, that up and down, that's what happens throughout life. But when we drop down into the bottom, can we pause and can we start to point back upwards, right, over time? And so I'm really excited about those scores because I personally think they'll really be fun to track over time. And I think it will give someone a little more value as it relates to, am I gaining flexibility? And this came after a thought, by the way. I got on a phone call with a member, and she was having this experience of I don't understand if I'm making progress or not.
Yeah.
And she's like, to me, progress means I've made it to the highest level. And I was like, lady, you are 60 years old. I was like, you're probably never going to get to the highest level. I could barely do some of these movements at the highest levels. And that's after decades of work.
I had this conversation with a member too.
Right. So I'm like, it's not about that. It's about, are you making some sort of progress, right? Because that's the one area where I have a hard time how to describe this to people. I love joyful movement. I love people doing the things that they want. And I love having some sort of structured system in the background of that people do relatively consistently that actually expresses that you're going to gain range of motion and strength and coordination, right? Because if you just walk all the time, that's great. If that's what you want to do, great. I'm not going to get mad about it. But does it mean you're going to be more mobile as you age or stronger in fundamental movement patterns as you age? Probably not. It's just going to mean you're great at walking. You know what I mean? So I love having some sort of structure underneath it. And this gives people, WeShape gives people structure. And this gives people a number that they can look at that says, I am gaining flexibility. So that when somebody comes to me and says, am I making progress? I say, let's take a look at your stuff.
Let's look.
Yeah. Let's take a look and see if you are. And we can look at it from two ways. Maybe you're making progress because you're gaining strength, flexibility, balance, and coordination. Maybe you're making progress because you're showing up for yourself more. And that's the more important one.
That's the more important one. And I think that's key because I think even when we talk about things from a more healthy perspective, it can still become...
You can get obsessed with your flexibility score. Right?
You can get, as soon as we leave the anti-diet world, we can get obsessed about, intuitive eating. We can get obsessed about, not dieting. You can allow yourself to sort of fall victim to this this spirit of comparison, this spirit of I'm never enough, this spirit of what can I do to be better and work harder. And it sounds very positive until you get into the psyche of the person who's stuck in that loop and who's always like, what else can I do? I'm not doing this right. I'm not.
More. Yeah.
It's like, breathe.
Yeah.
So, for some of us, like I said, I think tracking can be very helpful. But for some people, tracking of any type just starts to be unhealthy. Yeah. And I always tell people, we talked about this on another episode, I love a plateau. Okay? I love me a little plateau. I think it's very nice to stay at the same pace for something for an extended period of time because, well, one, you still have the advantage of knowing you're still showing up for yourself consistently. So that's that. But really, you don't have to be going to the next level. I talked to a client, a member who was like, am I ever going to get to the highest level? And I said, well, listen, I am not trying to yuck your yum, but let me just say, I doubt it because I was like, I haven't gotten to the highest level of these movements. I was like, and then Kason brought up Coach Tyler struggles to get to the highest level on all these. Like it's not, they're not easy.
I did a workout this morning and there was a couple I had to scale down. I was like, damn,
That's too
I lost that
one. So it doesn't. Every time you're doing something and getting better and stronger, more fit, whatever the case, you don't have to be seeking the next rung on the the higher achievement level.
Yeah.
It's okay to just stay. It's okay to just be where you are.
You just gave me a great idea. I'm literally going to ping the tech team right after this. I'm going to put an off switch.
Yeah, make it optional.
Put an off
yep,
switch
I think that would be great for people's mental health because some people don't need that.
Yeah, people don't need that. And another thing I'm really proud of is that a lot of these streaks and things you get on these apps, they're like, keep going. And some of the things that we're building in here is like, hey, you've done a movement routine for the last 3 days. Do you think you should maybe rest today or go for a walk or stretch instead?
I love
right? Because
that.
I think people need to there needs to be balance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
If you never ever do anything to gain strength and flexibility in a structured manner, you're probably not going to experience that. And that's fine. I want to be clear. That's fine if you don't want to. But if you came to WeShape, that's what we're trying to offer you on top of learning how to care for yourself.
Right.
So, hey, if you're doing 1 a week, maybe we could get it to 2. And let's do at least 2. If you're doing 6 a week, calm down. You don't need it. You're just putting your life energy behind something, and you might even be getting worse results.
Yeah, sometimes
overall,
you are.
Your numbers I described, they won't recover because you're not giving yourself space to recover.
There's no breaks.
Right?
There's no breaks. And the other thing, this comes up on calls a lot. Maybe you are only doing once a week, but what else are you doing?
Yeah.
You have a whole life.
Yeah.
If you're like, I do the WeShape workouts once a week, and then I go hiking once a week, and then me and a friend are skating. It's like, live your very best life because the whole point of our program is so that you can feel good in your body to do the things that make you feel good.
Things.
It's not so you can just do a structured workout and be like, yay, I checked the box. That's cool. That's great. We love it. But I want you to live.
Oh my God.
Live your life.
One of my favorite conversations I have is this member. Her name is Bridge. I know she wouldn't mind me sharing this because she's a WeShape lover and advocate and she came through a challenge. And in the challenges, we say 2 routines a week. Those can be 10 minutes. 2 10-minute routines a week. So Bridge shows up and she does 2 10-minute routines a week. And we finish that first challenge. We get into the next one. She's in the next one again. She's like, I've been doing 2 10-minute routines a week, and I'm super happy with it. And I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved it. And it was genuine confidence, right? I feel great. I'm the turtle. I'm the tortoise. I told the story of the tortoise and the hare in one of those calls, and it really hit her. She's like, I'm the tortoise. I'm going to do 2 10-minute routines every week. Well, guess what? That's 100 10-minute routines in a year.
Boom.
And guess what? You'll still make progress, even if it's just that. And you'll do it in a way that is so much less exhausting than if you put that self-imposed pressure on. I got to do 30 minutes 5 days a week. I got to do an hour 3 days a week. I got to do all this different stuff, right?
Yeah.
People go way overboard. And so, I think there's something to be said about being really happy with just a simple level of consistency.
Yeah. And they're recognizing who you are and where you are and what you need
Yeah.
You know, we all need something different. Some of us do need a little goal to push forward through.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, oh, it's really exciting and motivating, and it doesn't make me feel bad about myself. But some of us, even the smallest little thing, even like you said, tracking our flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I just like, I'm more about like how much energy
it can be a distraction from what actually matters.
Yeah,
and
like,
then we get to checking the boxes.
I'm gonna squat 400 pounds, and then I ignore my body when all of a sudden it's getting really heavy, and I'm like, well, I'm almost there. Like, you know, it's so stupid. Like,
it is.
I don't know. I love to check in with myself. How much energy do I have right now? Am I tight? Do I need strength? Let me balance those out, whatever my answers are. And at the end of the day, I just want to show up and do a workout that feels good, that's based on the things that I love to do, that I feel like are making me have the longest and most, movement capable body for as long as possible, and then end it. And also just partway through, if that changes, go, yeah, that's enough. You know, that's enough.
That's enough. That is enough. So yeah, that's another way to measure your progress, when you're comfortable and confident saying that's enough. When I tell some of my clients, like, I want you to start a 30-minute workout and turn it off at 12 minutes and don't go back to it. And they're like,
because you're dealing with the people who are neurotic, right?
They're like, I gotta finish what I started.
Now you ruin their sleep,
nope.
Lisa.
Hey, stop at 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And then give yourself permission. So it's really about giving yourself permission to decide in any given moment, even if it's something I signed up for, even if it's a big goal, I can stop when I want to and when I feel that I need to.
It's about connecting with yourself.
Connecting with yourself. So tons of ways to measure your progress if that's important to you. Nothing to do with the scale, how much you weigh, what your body looks like. It can be simple things like sleep and energy and self-care and showing up and all the things, and just how you feel in general, peace, you know, all of those things. Maybe you're less cranky.
Are you showing up for you?
Are you showing up for you?
Are you showing up to take care of you? That's what really matters. Well, thanks for listening. I think that's enough.
That's enough. Bye.